doesn't matter whether you're talking about say like TAs, AOLI, ADU, email.
I hope that you arrive at least 5 minutes before 9 on Saturday. I think Mr. Chen may have all the topics.
I have 10 out of 17 people's topics. So if you haven't sent me your topics,
We have
then
to organize it.
If we want to like send you a potential one, like if we wanted to discuss it with you or something, should we just email you that?
Yes.
as well? All right.
yes.
But anyway, before Saturday, we need to have the topics. Hopefully Friday evening, which means tomorrow evening.
Pardon me?
Are you going to lecture doing the first?
I think so.
First, we would try to organize the topics first. We have only 3 hours, and with 15 to 17 presentations. And I would take a chance to make some reflections on the very last topic. So next week, this will be the two topics listed before the last week. Topic today is still the continuation of globalization and cultural diversity. And I will try to present a Confucian reflection on this topic. And even though I'm not going to use the word Confucian continuously, or you just take it for granted, this is the Confucian response, or response to and the reflection on this extremely difficult question. I'll begin with an anecdote. I may have used it before. If you visit Emerson Hall, you know the motto there, "What is man thou art mindful of him," which is from the biblical source. Originally, there was a debate whether the motto should be Greek, which means man is the measure of all things. So the other one is, what is man that thou art mindful of him? These are two different mottos. One, the Greek one, can be characterized as a form of secular humanism, and of course, anthropocentrism. Man is the measure of all things. Whereas what is man thou art mindful of him is based upon the biblical notion, since man is being created, there must be some meaning of being human. So there's a teleology, even though we do not know what is God's particular design, because it is beyond human rationality. There's some meaning embodied in the idea of being human. There was a debate between the philosophers who all subscribe to the Greek notion, and the president, probably Eliot, or someone who served a long time as the president, was on the other side, maybe president and the fellows of the university. So when there was a spring break, when the philosophers returned, already what is man thou art mindful of him was already inscribed. So there's no choice. That's how if you visit Emerson Hall, you're going to see that. So the philosophers were very angry and couldn't do anything. And more recently, a few years ago, when this eminent philosopher Quine was taking a walk in the yard, I asked him about this. He said, well, you know, that's a question. What is man thou art mindful of him? So the answer is, man is the measure of all things. So again, the philosophers claim secular humanism is probably characteristic of this particular question, which is related to the major issue of the 21st century. It's gender neutral, even though the word is saying, what is man? What does it mean by being human? And in fact, it's the time that many people, especially people in the humanities, begin to talk about the question of rethinking the human. In other words, the time is ripe for us to think individually and communally. What does it mean by being human? Because the viability of the human species is at stake. Not individuals, but the community as a whole is vulnerable. That vulnerability forces us to think about that issue. So when you look at globalization and cultural diversity, the assumption is that economic globalization is homogenization. So eventually, the human, under the influence of the market, various political forces, and will be, in a way, if not totally controlled, will be encountering a totally homogenized world. So whether you raise the question or not, you are conditioned to become a particular being, which in a way you can say to be an economic being or economic animal. But cultural diversity also emerges in the 21st century, which forces us to re-examine the question of culture. And so there is a debate between the economists on the one hand, which they consider themselves universalists, because the whole human progression is leading towards that direction. It's irreversible. Whereas the culturalists emphasize the importance of diversity. By the way, UNESCO also accepts cultural diversity as undeniable and also as the way for the future. And you know UNESCO, like the UN, consists of many nations and consists of many developing nations. And normally discourse there is now dominated by European and American societies. So all these traditions emphasize their own uniqueness of their own culture. They just don't want their culture to be totally overwhelmed by the modernizing process as homogenization. And now increasingly in the Nordic countries, in Europe, the European Union, and even in America, the acceptance of cultural diversity is very pervasive. So we're faced with a dilemma. If we're interested in the question, I'm not sure any of you at this juncture, you're too young to be bothered by this question. But this question looms very large in the minds of many people. And so out of this debate, there are two positions. One is called universalists. The other one would be considered culturalists. Cultural diversity makes it very explicit. The culturalists accept cultural diversity. As you can guess, my position. What is cultural analysis? And I remember when I was involved with the debate of an institutionalist, Charles Johnson, and he makes a clear distinction that he thinks he's interested in economic development as a way of understanding institutional transformation. Therefore, the transformation of human community eventually will be more like each other. There's a question of convergence. And eventually, that is so obvious if you identify many of the issues we face, especially science and technology, now communication and information technologies. All these forces make us very clear that the world is going to be so much connected in such a way that the cultural diversity is no longer capable of maintaining itself. It is a wish for people.